doing extremely well this evening. Look, match reaction show. It wasn't good again. Look, let's not beat around the bush. It wasn't good again. You know, we would get into it, but look, that wasn't great, was it? First thing to say is, look, basically, look, get into this amazing community on this channel. This is the best community on this platform, hands down. We may not be the biggest, we're not smallest, but we certainly are the mightiest. Look, get into this amazing community. Look, we don't always agree. The only thing we do say and we ask for is respect on the channel. Respect the community, respect yourselves, which I think is important. Respect me, and otherwise the ban hammer comes out. We do not do it, but we absolutely will bash out the ban hammer. Second thing to say is, look, we do it differently on here. You guys get your opinion. I will give you your opinion. I read out the chats. This is why these shows take so long, is because I generally do read out your chat. So get in there with your chats this evening. Craig says, good evening, brother Craig. Good evening, my friend. I hope you're doing extremely well. Absolute legend, Craig. So we're going to go through it tonight. And, you know, look, one of the first things I want to say really tonight is, look, there is no point in losing our heads, right? Because, look, it was a draw. Brennan draw, by the way, says Niall. Paul Wales says hi, hello, Paul Wales. Brunette draw, by the way. Look, the first thing I've got to say, I swear them fuckers our bogey team, says Craig. Look, the first thing I've got to say is this. Look, Bournemouth, well done to Bournemouth. Look, I think Bournemouth were the better team. And look, again, you know, I'm not going to disrespect the opposition. You know, it wasn't that Bournemouth only drew because we were having a bad day. This is us. No, Bournemouth were the better team. Craig, they are. Brighton are our bogey team. Bournemouth are as well. And look, I'm going to go into these players tonight. I'm not going to go into them loads because I am not surprised. I'm calm. I'm chilled because this is what we've got. This is how we've been all season long. So I'm completely chilled, completely calm. I'm going to be the same as I always am because I know what we are. You know, I try to be as consistent as I possibly can, whether we win, lose, or draw, unless we play utterly sharp. Which I don't think we. Look, this was a disaster class tonight. You know, look, have we played worse? Yes. Have we played better this season? Yes. But the problem tonight was this: we played a team that also didn't play games. They are as fresh as us, if not fitter. If you look at the results that we've had, you know, Villa, Newcastle, Palace, okay, we beat them, but Palace were European competition. You know, Villa were in European competition. You know, we have not played well now for the last 5 or 6 games. You know, a point is a point. It is a point, right? It is not the end of the world, but the thing that really worries me here and now tonight is the performances. Look, Harry Maguire. Seltzer says Carrick is doing well. Do I think Carrick is doing well? Look, we can get into that. You tell me tonight about Carrick. I'm going to have my opinion on him. Look, this is not Carrick's fault tonight. Look, I will be consistent on this. Carrick has come in to do a job, right? People are talking about Carrick as the potential replacement. So he's got to be judged based on that. I'm not judging him based on that. I am judging him as an interim coach. And he looks like an interim coach. Look, I think as we, sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, Look, we are a very limited side. In Carrick's defence, the one thing I will say is, what is he supposed to do with these players? What is he supposed to do? There is no other manager in world football who's going to get a tune out of this squad. And look, I'm sorry, but Amorim was right. Amorim was correct. Whether or not Amorim played football that was shit or not, Amorim was spot on with this side. There's nobody who's going to get a tune out of this squad. And I've been adamant with this all season. I don't like these players. I'm also going to say this. Look, this club, if these performances do not improve, my worry here is that we drop down. Now, our only saving grace, and this is the one thing I said at the beginning of the season, one of the things this season is this: we're going to basically try to do something on hope and dreams. We've got to hope that other teams don't play well. We've got to hope that other teams are not as good or as they were. And this is what is happening. Look, Liverpool are coming into form, by the way. Look, I still think that we can get over this line. But look, we now don't have a game for 3 weeks. It's not about the point tonight. The point is a good point. And again, let's hope that Liverpool don't have the best of games. Let's hope that a Villa don't have the best of games. And that is what we've got to hope for. This is what this team is. This is a threadbare squad. Look, we know what these players are. And look, tonight we can talk about the players, and we will talk about these players, because these players, again, have to take some responsibility. This ownership, the reason why we are in this position is because this ownership refused to buy players. And if we don't get into the Champions League, we are fucked, by the way. We are absolutely screwed. If we don't get into the Champions League, we've got to, look, the ownership has to take the blame. And look, I know that's getting ahead of ourselves, right? And look, I'm not suggesting, look, it is not a capitulation yet, okay? But the performances haven't been good. And we've got to address that. Look, it is not the end of the world. Look, Bournemouth have only conceded 3 goals. They've also only scored 2. So it is a difficult place to go. And look, I think to come away with a point, is it great? No. But a point is a point. Is point on the board is not a loss, and I think we've got to take that tonight. Let me get into what you guys are saying. Get in with your comments tonight. Look, for those of you who want Carrick in tonight, look, I want to hear. Look, I'm very balanced in my views. I will still stick to what I've been saying, but I want to know your guys' opinions. Bruno Fernandes. Look, I am not blaming him for this tonight. Like, this is a team effort, right? Like Bruno Fernandes, he got his goal, but this is the Bruno Fernandes show. I want to know your opinions tonight on what the fuck do we think he is. Look, defensively tonight it wasn't great, but look, I want to know your opinions on him tonight. I want to know your opinions on these players. In Bumo again, I think Carrick has been the worst thing for him. I think Amorim got the best out of him. Shesko not starting. Ahmad hasn't been great for the last couple of games. Look, how do we stop this rot? Like, how do we now stop this rot? So look, I'm going to get into your chats, and then we'll go for it. Sally says it's a weird one. Bournemouth were more threatening in the second half, yet we got goals, lost concentration, and it should have had another penalty. But the bottom line is we didn't. Yeah, we did not get it done. Maguire had it coming. Says Ifran. Maguire, man. No difference from Amorim or Ten Hag, said Sully. Look, I agree with you. After today's game, I wonder will we ever see United win a Premier League in my lifetime? Look, with this ownership, I don't think that we will. I think one of the most disgusting things tonight is we've got one striker. Mbeumo is not a striker. Why do we have one striker? It is a fucking failure tonight that we have got one striker. A striker that doesn't get played, who's been brought on, 22 years old. We need two strikers. What is this club doing? This midfield tonight, Casemiro tonight. Look, this wasn't a game for Casemiro tonight. It wasn't his game. Casemiro, these games for him are a nightmare. Bruno Fernandes needs space. He didn't have space. Kobe Mainoo was okay tonight. Like when he had the ball, I thought he was good with the ball at his feet. But again, what is he supposed to do? Maguire had a bit of a shocker tonight. Luke Shaw, Adalo. Look, we have got no depth. And this sort of result tonight, this performance, when we need something different. Mason Mount, who's ready, apparently, who's back, played for 3 minutes. Mason Mount, Ugarte coming on. What are they supposed to do in this game? What is Ugarte supposed to do in this game? Fucking joke. Ahmed and Mainoo, the weakest link. United's situation, like us, Fenerbahce, we have a great legacy, but we're now embarrassed. Unpopular opinion, Carrick needs to play Ahmed more because Ahmed went to the shop while Boy George sat down by the river. I'm not going into that. Why Carrick play Mbeumo as an outright striker? Because look, Carrick, we will get on to him as well. Look, Carrick, what can Carrick look? I'm going to go in a little bit of a defence for Carrick tonight, not because I want him as coach, but because I think he knows what is Carrick supposed to do with this team. Shesko, I think he should have played a Shesko, but other than a Shesko, he's got nothing. He's got nothing. He's got absolutely nothing to bring on. He's got zero to bring on. The owners don't play football. They are players who is far from United material. United wingers needs to help from the fullbacks. There's absolutely no creativity from the fullbacks. Get Half, get Hall and Livramento. I'm Carrigan. I love it. At this stage, play Ugarte. At least he's going to put in a shift. Mainoo is piss poor. Ahmed is going down the Garnacho route. London is always blue. After today's game, I wonder will I ever see when robbed. JB, we should have taken our chances in the first half, says Danny. I don't think that we were robbed, Danny. I don't think that we were robbed. Look. If you go on the chances, then look, yes, we should have scored those chances. But do I think that we were robbed? I don't think we were. Rail says Arsenal are the worst team of all time. 2-2. It's how we start a game lets us down. Had Ahmad passed the ball, it could have been 3-1 instead of Ahmad wanted to beat the play. Just when we start to praise Maguire, Ikarutsu is in the house. I know. Just when we start to praise him, he does that. Maguire looked much more stable under Amarin. Shit, man, I'm afraid. Now, likes appreciated. Yeah, thank you, Dino. Like, share, and subscribe. Exactly. Let's get these numbers up. There's always that one player who getting the manager sacked. We now have 2 in the likes of Ahmad and Mainoo. Who said hi. Many platforms complained about VAR and the ref. Frankly, we beat ourselves. Look, tonight, there are platforms who are going to be screaming at VAR, right? Should Ahmad have had a penalty? I'm going to say yes, right? I do agree. I do agree that we should have had a penalty. But we can't rely on VAR to win us games. What are we? Look, we've got to win games by ourselves. Like, I find it embarrassing I find it embarrassing tonight that should we have taken our chances? Yes, but we did not play well. Look, if we had have won that game on a penalty, and Bournemouth has still played the way that they did. Look, people, look, and I'm not saying this community. I think on here, I think you guys are intelligent. I think you are, look, you say it as it is. If I was a Bournemouth fan tonight, I'd be disappointed we didn't sneak a win tonight. I'm happy that we took a point tonight. Should we have had a penalty? Yes, I do. I 100% think that VAR fucked up on that. But that wasn't the reason that we've lost. Look, we've played our performances. Look, Michael Carrick said it himself. Look, this isn't just me saying this. Michael Carrick said this himself. We've not played well. This isn't just me. I've been saying this for the last 5 games. We haven't played well. But look, we've taken points. Is tonight the scary thing for me tonight now is the performances. We play 1 game a week and we play like that. We should be all over this. Now, Bournemouth showed us tonight, you have a week off. That is how you should be playing. They were first to the ball. Look, we spoke about this morning. How Bournemouth were going to play. And guess what they did? They played it. Now, there was a part where Carrick was talking to Steve Holland. What was Carrick possibly saying to Steve Holland that was going to change this match? It's rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. And I'm not blaming Carrick for that. What is he supposed to do? I don't think Carrick should be given the job. I still think that we need to wait until the end of the season. Even if we get 3rd or 4th, I still don't think that Carrick should get the job. And I do support Amorim. I do. Look, other than those 2 wins, how are these performances better than an Amorim? Ever speak? Not just look at the rubbish you keep saying, but just fucking stop. Look, ever speak? Fuck off, you fucking moron. Look, just piss off. You're a fucking idiot. So please just fuck off, you absolute fucking bellend. Absolute, just piss off. Nikarutsu is in the house, and look, people tonight are angry. I get that, and this is what I always say on here. This is what I prefix the show, right? I'm sure Everspeak. I'm sure he or she is a nice person, right? But people get on here and people shit the bed. If people don't like me, then I don't understand. I don't understand people that want to come onto these channels and just infiltrate a community. If people don't like the channel or me, you don't have to be here. I don't mind the banter. I don't mind a different opinion to mine. But if people don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. Let's have a look what we're saying. Ifran says, yeah, we spoke about that. I hear people say that these players are not United material. So can you explain what players are United material? And look, I'll give you my opinion on that. What are United players, right? It's really, really simple, right? United players are players who don't give up, players that do the basics, right? Players that do the basics. And the basics for me, they play for 90 minutes. They run forward. They play for each other. They don't blame each other. They take accountability. But utmost anything is that they give everything. And they don't have to give everything for the badge. There are players that we've had that will give everything for the badge. Neville's, the Beckhams, the Giggses, Nicky Butts, Andy Cole's, Yorks, right? They give everything, but there are players who give everything for themselves. And what I mean is they're not selfish. They do it for professional pride, right? those are the players who know how to pass, who tackle, who run their butts off. We don't have those players. This team is clueless. This team, and I am going to go on a bit of a Bruno Fernandes rant at the end, but I'm not blaming him for this performance now. But I personally, I've believed this all season. These players are not good enough. They're not good enough as a team. This team is a horrible team. I don't like this team. I don't like the players together. As an individual players, I like some of them. But as a team, I think this is an awful team. But Ineos have to take a lot of blame tonight. Look, people are going to blame these players. I'm gonna have a pop at some of these players tonight. But Ineos have to take the blame. The fucking Glazers have to take the blame. How dare they leave us with this squad? How dare they leave us with the midfield? And one of the things that we spoke about and we said on this channel is that in the January window, if you want to guarantee Champions League, you've got to sort the midfielder, and they haven't. Casemiro today had 0 legs. This wasn't a Casemiro game. We needed a Tonali in this game. We needed that sort of player in this game. We've got Casemiro. Like, Casemiro's had a fantastic season. In some games, he hasn't been great. Kobe Manu again wasn't great today. But what are these guys supposed to do? So look, I blame this tonight on the Glazers, Ineos tonight. Also, the players again have to take the blame. But it is disgusting. How dare they leave us in a position where Mbeumo, who's not a striker, he's defending in his box. What is he supposed to do? What tactics are these? Why don't we have another striker? I think it's piss poor. I think it's disgusting that Ineos have left us with one striking option, and Carrick is having to use a threadbare squad. It is atrocious. It's shite, man, though. It's a draw. It's Maguire playing shite. Ref getting paid. It's pretty evident that we patched up the wall, but the cracks are appearing again. Can Carrick fix it? I think not. It's the players. It's always been the players at fault. Joshua says, I'm worried that we won't get Champions League the way we're playing, but I think we're playing a bit better than Amrin Ball. So when was the last time we had a United player who was really United material? Look, I'm going to say this in defence. Pilgrim says, hi. Look, Bruno Fernandes, I'm going to come on to him because he is the captain and you've asked the question. Bruno Fernandes, to be fair, is a United-ish player. And what I mean is, look, the guy is available, right? The guy plays. The guy does give everything he can. But in certain areas, he's not good enough. If Bruno Fernandes played in a team with Paul Scholes, Keane, look, he would be a luxury player, right? I've got to give him his due. Look, I'll give him his dues, and I'll say this. Look, is he a United type of player? Yes, he is. But in certain attributes, he's not. But I would probably say that he is. And other than that, Larmans, I'm going to say him now. I think he is. Nicarucci says, I think you're a proper Sam guy, JB. If folk don't like you, then that's their problem. Yes, the result sucks, but have a point. Look, Nicarucci, buddy, always, look, it's always humbling that somebody is prepared to put in a super chat. Look, Nicarucci, you're an absolute legend, mate. Thank you. And I really, really do appreciate it, buddy, and thank you. I'm going to need a beer after that, but look, Nicarucci, absolute legend, mate, and thank you so much. Bob says, I think both pens, Harry's a red, Ahmad's is a pen. I think Ahmad is a penalty. How can you not give that as a penalty? I think is Harry's a red? Was he really the last man? Did he deny a goal scoring opportunity? I don't know, but I think he was off when Harry got a red. I think Maguire's, if he is denying a goal scoring opportunity, should Harry Maguire be sent off? Yes. Look, it's a blemish. Look, Harry Maguire again. Look, he shouldn't be the villain of the piece tonight. He shouldn't be. So it says the excuses from the team is what annoys me the most. It does, Carrick. And again, I'm going to bring it back. Carrick always says this. This team is willing to, this team needs to learn. Carrick keeps saying the same thing. What fucks me off? The pressers are absolute dog shit. He keeps saying the same thing. There is no substance in this squad. This is papering over the cracks of a threadbare, shitty Ineos Glazer side. Michael Carrick is a Ineos man. He's an inside man, and he basically peddles the same shit. Look, I'm not blaming him, but he does peddle the same shit about players who are injured. He lies. He does lie. He does lie. But he's omitting the truth. Look, he keeps saying the same thing that these players know. He keeps saying these players need to know these players know they need to improve. These players, they're hungry to learn. These players are, X, Y, and Z, right? Then why don't they fucking do it? I don't get it. If these players know that they're not playing well and Carrick says they're not... Look, Carrick is not fooled. Carrick is not fooled. The one thing I will say about him, he's an intelligent guy. He's not fooled. These players don't fool him. They do not fool him. And the sad thing for me is this, is that I'm not opposed to a Carrick, right? But just like an Amorim, just like a Carrick, they're not going to be given players. I want to see Michael Carrick with a set of players that he picks. I wanted to see an Amorim with a set of players that he picked. How is any coach going to progress? Now, CM Mabuk says, relax, this is but look, I am not, again, I'm not, look, I'm not over the top. I'm talking about the game to get today, but this, mate, the progress has been over 13 years. Look, you tell me, how many times are we going to do a rebuild? How many times are we going to say this is a work in progress? Negan, you're a fucking idiot, and you're banned. So piss off. Look, we've got it all tonight. There are many toxic people tonight. But look, I'm not disagreeing with your view. Like, everybody tonight is entitled to their views. But it sounds like the Glazer-nomics. Like, we've not played well for the last 5 games. This is not progress. We're supposed to be going into the Champions League next season. Look, we are supposed to qualify for the Champions League, right? We're supposed to be getting into the Champions League. My question here and now is what you saw tonight, what you saw against the Geordies, Palace, what you've seen all season. We have got these players. We're not going to sell 7 players. We're not going to sign 7 players. Is this squad good enough for the Champions League? Is this squad good enough next season to go deep into the FA Cup? Is this squad good enough to go deep in the Carabao Cup? Is this squad good enough to go deep into the Champions League? Are we going to be able to cope playing on a Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, like Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday? Look, No. And this is what I'm saying tonight. Look, we've got to demand more. We've got to demand more. He says, we've never completed a rebuild because it's not the Glazers. Because it's not the Glazers' aim. Their aim is the Champions League only because of the cash. Only we never complete a rebuild because the Glazers never want to. And look, that is a fantastic point. That's a very, very intelligent. And again, I'm not taking the piss, by the way. I think it's a very, very intelligent and correct thing to say. But we have to do something. We have to do something. Let's have it. Claire says, who would you sign with the United money next season? Look, the money next season is going to be low. I don't see. We need to spend next season. We need to spend £350 million. Can we make the headroom for next season to do that? Possibly. But we need to spend the money. Where are we going to get this cash from? We need 2 centre midfielders. I'd argue 3. We need a left back, a right back, a centre back, a centre forward, a left wing up. We're not going to get those positions. We're not going to get those positions next season. Look, I'm worried. I am worried about the performances. I am. Look, I'm still not going to go over the top in this. Look, a draw is a draw. Bournemouth have only conceded 3 goals. They've only conceded 2. Look, nobody is playing well this season. So look, it's not the panic mode, but this is not good enough. We need, look, Arsenal are going to strengthen next season. Chelsea will strengthen next season. City will. They're going to push ahead. If we don't match them or try to match them next season, they're going to pull ahead. So look, what we've seen tonight, I'm chilled about it. It's what we've seen all season, and I am not surprised. Let's go through some more of your chats. Do you agree? I think we need a new sub-CM. Look, I think Claire, I think we need 2 CMs. I do. I think Casemiro is going to go. Ugarte isn't good enough. Mainu. So we're gonna need Casemiro replacement. We're going to need another midfielder, which we should have bought. We're going to need another midfielder for backup. Left back, right back, centre back, centre forward. The squad is too thin even for 1 game a week. Look, again, mate, CM, you're smashing it out of the park. 100% correct. This squad is too thin for 1 game a week. You're right. Nikaruchi says this point could be such a valuable point to get to the Champions League. Let's hope the other teams lose. And Nikaruchi, again, my friend, absolute legend. But that is my problem. And it's been my problem the entire season. Instead of this club being forward thinking and going out and buying 1 or 2 players and saying, look, we're not going to hope. We can't live on this season on hopes and dreams. But Nikaruchi is spot on. This point can be a valuable point. Look, all is not lost. All isn't lost. It is a point. It is a point, but we do have to hope that teams drop points. Michael says, hi, hello, Michael. Goretzka on a free, Camavinga 45, Gomez 50, maintains our UEFA Champions League status. Goretzka is 30. Look, if Goretzka's going to want 250k a week from me, I don't think we do it. Camavinga, again, I think you're taking a chance on him. I do. If you could guarantee me an injury-free Camavinga, yes. I'm not opposed to Camavinga. I'm opposed to the injuries. And I don't want a player that Real Madrid are trying to sell. But look, I get it. Gomez as well for 50 million. I like him. But we have to aim higher. I think we have to get Tonali. We have to get... I think we need to get 2. I think 3. I would go for, we need to get somebody like Tonali, Bruno G, and a Stiller and a Wharton. I think we need to do that. 4 days is plenty of rest, enough gap for continuous sharpness. Sully, yes, I do agree. JB, we have seen the script too many times. Now we're shit and we will not go to the Champions League. Possibility of qualifying for the round of 16 will crumble. Mount is always injured and Ugarte is shit, says Claire. Mason Mount coming on for what? 3-4 minutes? What an absolute piss take. And again, Michael Carrick saying that Mason Mount is ready. He's not ready. Playing 3 minutes, he literally nearly got injured with his first touch of the ball. No, thank you. Real Madrid sold a Robin, yes, and look, I'm not saying, look, Camavinga. I like Camavinga. I'm with you on a Camavinga, right? I like him a lot. My worry is injury. Are we going to go down the Mason Mount route again? Look, I am not opposed to it. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I think you make a great point. But Camavinga, for me, is a worry. I like him, though. I do. If we don't get 7 signed, there's no point in even thinking about staying in the Champions League. Camavinga has only missed 6 games this season. And look, Camavinga, I like him. I like him a lot. If we can get Camavinga for 45 to 50 million, go and do it. I like Camavinga a lot. I really, really like him. Look, if we went for somebody like, I don't know, if we went for a Camavinga, Tonali type, I think Tonali could definitely be that number 8. I think you could play Camavinga and him together. I think that would be fantastic. Fresh says, evening, mate. Casemiro and Luke Shaw are world class. Fresh is in the house, legend. But I actually noticed Shaw was really off it tonight. He was frustrating. Fresh. Man, we miss you. Legend. Dershan, Tonali, Bruno G. Still, it is a great window. Never going to get 2 of the Newcastle at any price. I do agree with you. At least we are 3rd. Exactly. We don't need players who have egos, and I like play for only money. Shouldn't want players who don't play. You don't want to play for the club. You want 4 players from Newcastle. Just want to sell 1. Exactly. So look, let's talk about the game. Look, we've got to get into the game. The game for me was a weird one today. Got to head to bed now, JB. Got work in the morning. Appreciate the watching on the streams. Take care. Nicarutsu, legend, my friend. Thank you for the support, as always, my friend. Look, let's talk about the game tonight. How we third, lol. Just the man, the legend there is Carrick. Look, the game was a weird one for me today. I don't necessarily think we started as lethargic as we did. The major problem for me tonight was that we played a team who were fitter than us. We played a team who were better at pressing. Look, we spoke about how Bournemouth were going to play. That is what we spoke about. They are aggressive. They're an aggressive team. They're at home. And they came for us, and we had no game plan for it. We are counter-attack FC. So Damien is in the house. Hello, Damien. We are a counter-attacking team. They're a different sort of team to an Arsenal. They're a different sort of team to a City in terms of the vitality is a really close ground. They know how to play there. The crowd is on our backs. They're just a very aggressive, just a good side. And we just didn't have any response. Look, I think we played more of a deep lying back 4. Casemiro sat in front of them because look, in these sorts of games where Casemiro has to run around, he's just not at it. And our midfield today just wasn't great. Larmins, I thought Larmins could have got to the first goal. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh. I thought he could have maybe done a bit better on that. The penalty, look, what's he going to do? Again, Larmins, again, I thought he came for the ball. Look, Larmins, to me, I think, even though I think maybe he possibly could have saved that. Darshan, do I think that we were robbed? No, I don't. But look, I get the opinion on it. I don't think that we were robbed, mate. I don't. I think by saying that, Bournemouth, I think would feel unlucky not to possibly go and sneak it. Luke Shaw today wasn't great. The first went through Maguire's legs. Do you think Maguire hurt not being selected for England? Maguire has been. Maguire is in the England squad. No, he is. And look, Kirk. Look, I didn't see that. So look again, Kirk. I'm probably being too harsh on him. That was a penalty on Ahmad before they scored. Agree with you. That was a penalty. Elgano, we got robbed. I disagree with you. Disagree. We didn't get robbed. Look, should we have got a penalty? Yes. But I don't think we got robbed. I just don't. I don't think that we got robbed. I don't. Look, if people tonight think that, I respect the view. And look, people watch football in a different way. What I saw tonight was a team that lacked a leader tonight. I thought creativity tonight. I did think the ref's decision on the penalty was ridiculous. But look, Bournemouth were worthy of the win. I thought Bournemouth were the better team. I do. Let's go through some more of your chats. Sally says, our press and intensity is non-existent. Yes, more compact, but at what cost? If you're playing in Boomer, have to press and catch them out at the back. It was a good game, says Damien, but very tight. Their midfield was mobile. Couldn't live with them. As much as I love both Ahmed and Mbuma, I feel playing Mbuma as a 9 is killing his form. I do agree. Darshan says that we got robbed. Have a little look. We just need to be in that top 4. Exactly. I don't care about hook or by crook how we get into that top 4. I don't care. Larmans has to do some shot stopping training this summer. The ref was fair too. Shaw was given a Torrid Tom. Luke Shaw is always given. He always is. No legs in the midfield. They ran through us. Exactly. Larmans is a good kid. Look, I love Larmans. Larmans, and again, now that you told me it's gone through Maguire's legs. Look, Larmans, I think he's a great keeper. I really do. Rogue says, should we have got penalty, but we didn't get it, robbed. Look, Rogue, and again, look, I get it. I think we were robbed of a penalty, and I would completely agree with that. But I think Bournemouth would have pushed for a second goal. I do. I don't think you can't. Well, you can do. I don't agree with if we'd have got a penalty, we would have gone on to. Look, I don't know. Look, if we'd have got the penalty, I don't know, mate. I don't know. If Ahmad's push wasn't a foul, then Maguire's push. No, Maguire's push was a look. I agree with you guys. It should have been a penalty, and if we'd have got a penalty, would Bournemouth have come back into the game? I think they would have got a second. Would they have got a third? I don't know. But look, the point here is that should we be relying on penalties to win games? The lack of competent subs from the midfielders. Clueless can't keep giving these players excuses. They lost concentration. It's kind of late to rant about this. If you don't like it, go away. Look, mate. Look. If you don't like it, this is our late show, right? This is our show. This is what we do late. I don't understand people who come on and feel like their opinion is so brilliant that they've got to come onto the channel and they've got to tell me what to do. Like, you clearly think that your opinion is so above mine. Like, I don't think my opinion is, this is why I read out the chats, right? If you think that, you clearly think that your opinion holds sway. If you don't like it, go away. I feel that it was tight, but the big ups for Bruno so far. If the push again on Ahmad was not a foul, then the push. But look, it was a different sort of push. Look, I'm not going to disagree with you, Garner. I'm not. Look, Ahmad should have been a penalty, 100%, 100%. But he gave it. Look, there is no point complaining about the penalty. He didn't give us the penalty. We didn't play well. Were we robbed from an aspect of should we have had a penalty? Yes. But it's all ifs and buts. It's just ifs, buts, and maybes. We didn't get the penalty, but they still scored. So all I'm going to say on that is we didn't get the penalty, but then they went down the other end and scored. Why did they score? Like, you can't... But they went down the other end and scored because we were too busy moaning about the penalty. We were too busy remonstrating, moaning, complaining about the penalty that they went down the other end and scored. Like, you know, I get it, but why can't we win games by defending better? So he said we can't do it. Ifs, buts, and maybes. Our players should have had enough to seal the game. I do agree. Liverpool is better. Backdrop needs work. It's giving Sports Torex's Bordia fan. Look, I don't mind the banter, my friend. Look, you clearly look. This channel is clearly not, you know, your sort of channel. Look. All I've got in the background is some shirts and some shoes. And look, if it's not for you, it's not for you. It's not for you, buddy. Rogue says, oh, I agree. We should have done it on the pitch for sure. Bournemouth played well. 3 weeks is a long time. So David is in the house. Legend Hajjabi, been away for a while. Hope you and the community are well. David, thanks, buddy. The game is gone. Maguire's was a penalty 8 days of the week. Crowley is in the house as well. Atwell was screwed us again, just like the Lucha guy. Look, it should have been a penalty. There is no question. Liverpool finally won a game convincingly, and people saying that they're better. We were a bit lazy. Bournemouth begged our defence. We were sloppy in the back. Enjoy the Conference League. Maguire was a go to the haters. So let's talk more about the game, right? You know, midfield was non-existent. I thought Casemiro again today. Look, Casemiro, it wasn't his game today. He can't handle pace. Today is it. Look, if Casemiro can't handle this today, can you imagine Casemiro in the Champions League? He'd get destroyed. Kobe Mainu again didn't have the best game. Kobe Mainu needs players around him. Kobe Mainu needs players. He's right now. He's got nobody to learn from. He's 20 years old. He's got nobody to learn from. What is he supposed to do? Like, you know, Kobe Mainu today, look, wasn't great. I can only judge. Liam is in the house, legend. what is Kobe Mainoo supposed to do? Like, you know, again, was it a great performance? No, but he's a kid. Like he needs support. Bruno Fernandes. Look, I'm not gonna make this the Bruno Fernandes show again. But again, look, Bruno Fernandes, the risk taker. Look, if Bruno Fernandes is this world class player, he should be running these sorts of games. He can't run these games. Bruno Fernandes, every single game. This is who he is, right? World class assister, gets the odd goal this season. His defensive work is fucking abysmal. His defensive stats, he gives the ball away, and guess what? Bruno Fernandes is he takes risks. And today he lost. He was not in the game today. He wasn't in the game today. He wasn't very good today. His tackling, his defensive work is awful. He gives the ball away. But look, I'm happy to say that Bruno Fernandes is a world-class assister. He is a luxury player. Bruno Fernandes is a luxury player. When Bruno Fernandes is on it, he's a wonderful player to watch. But Bruno Fernandes cannot do the dirty work. He just doesn't do it. He just doesn't do it. He would rather call out his own players, remonstrate with the referee, remonstrate with his own players, tell his players what to do, instead of just sticking a fucking foot in. Look, Bruno Fernandes, his stats for giving away the ball are some of the worst in the Premier League. And the reason why I mention it is because Bruno Fernandes wants 400k a week. Look, we're going to play a Bournemouth, a Brighton. We're going to play these teams, right? Bruno Fernandes is not. He struggles against these teams. He struggles because he can't do the dirty yards. He can't do the dirty work. It doesn't mean that going forward and a passer as an assister. Bruno Fernandes is a quarterback. Bruno Fernandes can win you the game. But today just shows me the reason why I am in this camp of we can't build this team around him. We can't do it. If we build this team around him, it's just not going to work. And are people happy tonight to give him 400k? I'd argue that Bruno Fernandes, you're going to have to pay him probably around 450k. And the reason why I tell you that is because Bruno Fernandes is on £350,000, right? We get into the Champions League, his uplift is 25%, which is another £75,000 a week. So if we get into the Champions League, Bruno Fernandes is going to be on £375,000 a week. Do you think Bruno Fernandes is going to sign a contract for 400k? Do you think Bruno Fernandes will stay for another 25k? I don't think he will do. I think Bruno Fernandes is going to want 425k a week. Are you happy based on this season and the abject, terrible performances that he's had? Yes, he's had assists. He's got 16 assists. That's great. Are you happy to pay 400 plus K for Bruno? Because I'm not. I think Carrick is getting away with it a bit. He's playing a winger up front. Don't think that Mainoo has played well. Think we had more luck than Quali. Amarin would be called out for this. I agree, David. Look, Carrick is the media. Like, they love Carrick. They love Carrick. The way that Carrick does a presser, and then United does this little weird segment after that. Casemiro is more like a defensive centre midfielder. He's creativity but not trickery. So now we can go back to the under 18s, under 21s. Loved Gio's finish. Think he can finally join the first team. I hope so. I really, really hope so. I'm amazed at how Ahmad has dropped off since he secured his place. He was different as super sub. Red Devil News says you Kobe Mainoo needs to go on loan. Napoli would have been the best thing for him. He has fucking Kevin De Bruyne. And look, I agree with you. I think Kobe Mainoo would be better served to go out on loan. But the reason why he didn't, and we all know the reason, is because they weren't going to invest in this team. They got no intention of investing in this team. That's the problem. Kobe Mainoo is not the answer. They took a punt. This season, Kobe Mainoo is not the answer. They took a punt. They didn't bring anybody in. And maybe we're going to see the repercussions of that. Liam said, Shesko must start up top against Leeds. Mbeumo can't lead the line. I agree. Bruno is a forward at heart. You need some other mids to carry his water. Agreed. Colin says, Bruno is not a midfielder. He's a creator. We need midfielders around it. And Colin, look, Bruno Fernandes is a luxury player, right? I agree with that. I do. Bruno Fernandes needs players around him. The reason why I don't think Bruno Fernandes is a world-class player, because for me, a world-class player needs to be more than an assister. He is a quarterback. To be a world-class midfield player, you need to be an all-round player. Figo was world-class. Zidane was world-class. Iniesta was world-class. Xavi was world-class. Those players did everything. They were creative, and yes, they had the players around them. I think if you put players around him, would he be a better player? Yes, because Bruno Fernandes needs that, and I agree with you, Colin. He needs players to support him. Mbeumo playing the same position every match. I'll admit, Bruno is an attacking mid. Yeah, no, he is. Cunha has shown some improvement in the last few games. His technical ability, but unfortunately, Mbeumo has none. What I think I've come to the conclusion with an Mbeumo is this: Mbeumo is not. Mbeumo for me is a squad player. I think he is a very, very good squad player. He is the type of player that I would love in my squad, but you get somebody better than him. Now, to some people, you're going to say that I talk shit, but we need fantastic squad players. Mbeumo for me is somebody that you bring in when you want to push yourself up the league. Mbeumo for me is not somebody that's going to win you a league. He's not. I just don't think he is. I think he is the sort of player who would improve with better players. I don't think he can make players better. I think he needs players who will make him better. I think if he fights for his position, which I think he can, I think for me he's on the cusp of, if you put him in a very, very good side, I think he improves his game. I don't think he improves players. I think players would improve him. I don't think you win a league with him as your star player. I just don't think you do. I don't. Mbeumo is a baller, just has a temperament. He was playing out position. Bruno is an assister, not controller, and his assists output that to man. I think we need a fresh midfielder. Please, who is that ref? He should be sued. Shesko has to start next game. I'm not making issues for Carrick. However, maybe the lack of backup striker is why Shesko isn't starting more games. So, in other words, no one to come off the bench. And look, again, what's Carrick supposed to do? And look, I'll be in defense of Carrick, right? What is he supposed to do with this squad? He's got nobody to bring on. He brings Mason Mount on in the 93rd minute. What is he supposed to do? The guy had to bring on Malacia. Like, what? How? How disgusting is it that this club, because we've got no fucking money, can't bring in a midfielder, can't bring in players to bring this squad together? We don't need to send players on loan. If players are happy here, shouldn't make a senseless transfer. Bruno and Casemiro both need support around them. Fernandes is a talent, but not world class. I agree with you. There is no doubt that Bruno Fernandes, and I do agree with you all, Bruno Fernandes, if you put Bruno in a Madrid side and you put him in that position, he would be a phenomenal player. I just don't think he's world class. I just don't. Scholes 2 was world class. Can you say it was slippery slot match? Rob Edwards says gay. Well done, Rob. Excellent, Rob. Great banter. Mbeumo is a bulldog. Who would be your ideal midfield signings? Mine are Bruno G, Camavinga, and Alex Scott. Yes, I know it's a pipe dream. I like Camavinga. I think for me, I'd probably like a Tonali. I'd like a Tonali and a Camavinga. Like I want two midfielders who can get up and down the pitch. I would rather have those two. Look, if Bruno Fernandes is going to stay, right? If Bruno Fernandes is going to stay, you can have those two midfielders in there. Cunha has the ability to be a starter, but Mbeumo is an ideal bench option. Impact like Shesko. Mbeumo is not a baller, can't pass, and bad first touches. If we had McTominay, this match would have happened. We might have won it. Is that weird that I think that? Man, I miss. But look, there is nothing wrong in that. Look, McTominay is the past. I think we use McTominay in the wrong way. Like, do I think McTominay would change this game? I don't know. Red Devil says the news. The problem is we didn't buy Mbeumo to play as a striker, so why Carrick is doing it? Is it stupidity? I don't know, mate. Mbeumo clearly playing out of position. He's just. I don't think it's. I think he's very naive. I think Carrick is very, very naive. Carrick is a smart guy. I don't know. I think he's stubborn. I hate to say this. I think he's stubborn. I think Carrick is very, very stubborn. Just play Shesko, for fuck's sake. Just play him. Carrick, if you know anything about him, Ahmad is his guy. He loves an Ahmad. So I think he's stubborn. I think he's very, very stubborn. I think, again, like every player, every coach has their favourite players. Ahmad and Carrick loves an Ahmad. So I think he's stubborn. Amir says Carrick has done a good job for United. 7 out of 10 win. Solid, hopefully Champions League spot. Bruno is bad at doing the dirty work, and the only play does the dirty job is Casemiro. It's so annoying we haven't managed to win any games before the breaks. Emmanuel says, please hear me out. Why is there no rules in football anymore? Why is VAR being biased? Look, VAR today. Ahmad should have had. It's crazy. We are using Mbeumo as a 9 because Shesko doesn't do the work up front. We are falling behind with Shesko because he doesn't press or track. Red Devil News says Luke Shaw needs to pack a suitcase and I'll drive him to the fucking airport. Mate, Luke Shaw is done. Luke Shaw's greatest attribute this season is that he's not injured. Chris, so you wouldn't take Bruno G then, even if he was an option for a move? Big fan of Tonali. No, I would take him. I prefer Tonali, but I would take him. I would take him. I think you're right. We need leaders. We need leaders on the pitch, and I agree with you on that one. So look, let's talk about players. Bruno Fernandes, we've spoken about him. Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw today, again, another shit game. Again, injury changes players, and that's Luke Shaw's story. Absolutely true. I don't blame Luke Shaw for his injuries. Luke Shaw doesn't pick himself. And again, this is a fucking piss poor team. It's Ineos and the Glazers. Why are we still playing Luke Shaw? The guy's got no fucking legs. Like, I don't blame Luke Shaw, by the way. I don't blame Luke Shaw for his, the injury against, was it PSV? I think Luke Shaw would do. I think Goldbridge would do better than Dalot. I mean, he's awful as well. Luke Shaw is done. Like, Luke Shaw is not picking himself. Luke Shaw is, and look, I've, and again, this is not about, and this is not about the injury. Right, I'm pleased that he came back, but look, we can't be. We are a football club. We are trying to be the best in class. And Luke Shaw, he's come back. I've admired. I think he's had a decent career, but we can't keep him. But the fact that Luke Shaw is getting into this side is a failure. We don't have another left back to bring on. We don't have a left back to bring on. Again, it is a fucking disgrace that Luke Shaw is playing. And it's not about Luke Shaw, by the way. It's not about him. Why don't we have another player to bring on for Luke Shaw? It's just, I think it's disgusting. I do. I really do. I agree with what you said, JB, other than the Arsenal games. These performances aren't any better. Arguably, Amrin would have got the same results. Do you think Malacia will stay next season? No, he's gone. All these problems are caused by one thing, JB. Glinios to get them out. We can't believe we sold Fernandes Malacia. We need a better upgrade and Shaw and Dalot. Can you believe that in United we hadn't had an elite left back in the history? Can you believe that? Dennis Irwin would disagree with you there. I would say Dennis Irwin, or was he a right back? No, Dennis Irwin was left. Irwin was amazing. Should have never let Alvaro go. I do agree. Bologna eliminated Roma in the Europa League. I'm so happy. Dalot can't cross to save his life. Replaced Dalot, Ugarte, Shaw, Evra. Yeah, Evra was class as well. Dalot, again, left back, right back. What a disgrace. Mazraoui. Where the fuck is Mazraoui? Again, no talk about him. Where is Mazraoui? Again, we've got this defense that is a makeshift defense. Where is Mazraoui? Where is he? It's fucking disgusting. In Bumo today, Ahmad, someone both up today, they just weren't great. Look, in Bumo's been played out of position. I agree with you, Rogue Dark Agent. Not good today. He's been played out of position. He's not up front. And I do agree with you. Mazraoui is a superior player, but he's injured again. Cunha for me today. Spoiler alert: I thought Cunha today was our best player. I love his hard work. Cunha for me he's one of these players. He does the hard yards, but Cunha makes things happen. I really like Cunha. I think he's got better and better and better. I think that Cunha for me is a great player. I like him. So a Delict is out, mate. He is out for a season. He's out for a season. He's got a back injury, and he's out, mate. He is out. Let's go through some of your chats. Replace Dallo and Ugarte. I do agree with you. We really need someone reliable who's capable of playing on both sides. Yeah, I do agree with you. Why can't we try Leon Lacey? Literally put Binder in there. I'll do it. Red Devil News. I love it, mate. Leon's gone on loan. Lacey. Why aren't we playing Lacey? Bring on Lacey. Play Lacey. I mean, I think Lacey's been injured, to be fair. Fucking surprise. But Lacey, bring him on. You are a legend. Talking the truth. Thanks, buddy. I think United fans need Casemiro for a 1-year extension because of his impact this season. Look, Raymond, I would keep Casemiro only as a backup player. We can't keep him because if we kept him, he'd be on over 400k a week. So look, I would keep Casemiro on a good wage, but not as a starter. Casemiro cannot start. I would keep Casemiro as a bench option, but not on 400k. Connor says, Erwin Evra Shaw was good before his injuries. Now he gets forward, and now he doesn't get forward and put in crosses. Don't think Delit plays for us again. He is. Delit is. He's screwed, mate. He's screwed. Casemiro, nope, time to go. I feel bad for Delit, me too. Leon doesn't look ready for the under 21s, and he was injured. Yeah. We need about 6 or 7 players. Keep Casemiro, rip off the band-aid. I do agree with you. So look, let's go through the scores. I want you guys to give me your scores. Let's get into the scores, and we'll go through the game. So look, Larmans today. I think Larmans does some good stuff today. Look, 6 being an average score. Larmans today for me, yeah, I don't disagree. 7.5 and 8. I like Larmans. I think he's a fucking fantastic goalkeeper. I really, really like Larmans. Whoever decided on him he's fantastic. He's just a wonderful player. I just think he's an amazing signing. Sene was 6. I mean, I would go 7.5. I think what people don't always get with him is that the way he commands his box, the way that he commands his box from what we had to where we were, maybe he could have pushed Christie's shot around the post. Now, Crody, I originally said that I think it goes through Maguire's legs. I think that's the reason why. I do think possibly maybe could have got a hand to it. But look, he comes out, he catches, he punches, he's steady. 7.5 for me. I just think he's fucking brilliant. He does. Like, he's such a young guy, but he is so good. I just think he's brilliant. Kind of says we can't sell Bruno, Casago, and Ugarte, not rated. We're already short at least one midfielder, if not 2. We won't get through. And look, Colin, I get that, mate. Look, I think that's again, I would sell him, but if we're not going to replace, look, Colin, look, if we sell Bruno, we have got to go and buy 3 or 4. And I think for that reason, I think it'd be very, very difficult. So, Colin, mate, I think you make a good point. Aluko says hi. Just look at how he tells the midfielders. The ball is a penalty. Yeah, he's very confident, Senny, which is amazing for such a young keeper, but unlucky for the second goal. A stronger midfielder is a must. But is Dorgu back soon? Who knows? This club lies. Dorgu, I thought Dorgu might be out for the season, to be fair, but He gets better each match. I've seen him. I do agree. I think Dean Henderson is the right person to accompany Larmans. I'm a Manchester in France. Good. Henderson is a tool. Nope. Luke Shaw today for me. Look, Luke Shaw today for me. I'm gonna give him a 4.55. I don't think that Dorgu is Dorgu. I don't think Luke Shaw is. Look, Luke Shaw is doing his best. Vitek back from loan. Yeah, I'd get him back. Luke Shaw for me today. Mason says City. Luke Shaw, yeah, 4.5. It just wasn't great today, was it? Again, you know, I've got to be fair to Luke Shaw. Give Carrick a 10-year deal. Larmans is a solid keeper. Just get better and better and better. Luke Shaw 5, yeah. Look, Luke Shaw is limited player. I've got to say, I've got to give him credit for this season. He's available. What is he supposed to do? There is nobody else. He's been asked to do a job. He's doing his job. What more can anybody say, really? He's not. I agree with you. I've been saying this for quite some time as well. He is a Courtois. He's got Peter Schmeichel's frame. He's very, very broad, but he plays like a Courtois 100%. So Adalo again, 5.5. It wasn't good again. They got butchered. Our left back, right backs got absolutely butchered today. Look, he doesn't offer much. He doesn't. Early prediction: Lewis Hall will be at United next season. I fucking hope so, mate. I really, really hope so. Look, for me, who would you have as a manager? Carragher and Ancelotti. Now, my opinion on the coach is always based on the players that we're gonna have, right? Ancelotti is going to need players. If we're not going to get players, probably a Carrick, I thought, look, again, 4.5, 5. Maybe I am being kind to Dallo. Look, he always gets butchered. I just feel sorry for him. I do. Unai, for me, I'd get Unai Emery every day of the week. I really would. Look, again, what is there to say? Luke Green says up the Rams. Luke Green, legend. What else is there to say about them both? They're just not great. Enrique should be the first choice. I agree. Look, guys, I'm gonna big up. I've done a video. It's there on. I've compared Carrick to Enrique, Glasner, De Zerbi, and Emery. So go and give that a watch. Mr. Abdullah says hi. Why United got rid of Alvaro? I don't know. Maguire today. Look, Maguire today. I don't know what to say on him. Nagelsmann, I wouldn't mind him either. I wouldn't. Enrique is flying pigs level of dreaming. I don't disagree. Shaw is looking more like a Teletubby each game. He's Dipsy from the Teletubbies. Except he needs a handbag. I think for me, Maguire today. Maguire's got to get 4. Mate, we need to sell Dallo and Luke Shaw. I don't disagree with you. I mean, would Ollie ask for the job again in the summer? Jesus Christ. We saw how good he is today. Look, I think Maguire today has to get a 4. He's got to get a 4. Look, I love Harry Maguire's redemption arc. I like the fact he's back in the England squad. I think he was unlucky today. Look, for me, United says just sub. Look, thank you, my friend. Thank you. I appreciate like every sub. I promise you is appreciated. He's if not giving it to Carrick for continually. We need to add 2 or 3 players to 2 new fullbacks. I do agree. Would you give Cunha the number 7, JB? I'd rather give Cunha the number 7 than Mason Mount. Do I think Cunha is worthy of the 7, David? And that is a good question. Would I give Cunha the 7? That's a good question. That's an excellent question. Who would I give this 7? Who would I give this 7 to? It would have to be Cunha. I think look, if we got a different player in, yes, but I think for now I would probably give it to Cunha. I would actually. That's a damn fine question. Let's have a little look. I think if Maguire lets the play through, I don't think they score. Absurd from Maguire, but he should bounce back. Do you think after this successful Alex Ferguson era or Jose Mourinho, despite being brief at United, I think Jose should have been given more players. I don't think he was given his players. I don't. Jose, looking back, I think, look, Jose, you don't win a Europa League and finish in 2nd. Look, Jose should have been given more players. Would he have created an era? No, I don't think he would have. But I think he did well. Sell Mount doesn't warrant a place in the team, and we'll get some money. Look, if we can sell Mason Mount, I'll snatch their hand off. I don't know who's going to buy him. Look, let's get him fit. And sell him. Cunha is class. I'd give him the 7. Cunha bleeds for the club. He's more a United player than... I think he's brilliant. I do. Cunha is the number 7. The VAR robbed us. I give the 7 to Rashford when Barca failed to pay 25 million. You gave 7 to Mount. He's a joke and being found out. I didn't give it to him, Luke. Trust me, it wasn't me. Live long, Cunha. Mount can wear the number. Fuck off. I love it. Yeah, Chuck the man. Obviously, he passed away. Absolute legend. Xerxes. I like Xerxes. Look, there are players that just don't, for whatever reason, they don't fit. I don't think Xerxes ever got a fair crack of the whip. I don't know if Xerxes is good enough, but compared to some of these other players, get Big Pat from Derby. So look, Maguire for me 4 or 3, Euro 4.5, 5, probably a 5. Look, what can he do? Unfortunately, Xerxes came to the wrong league. He's too slow for the EPL. We should have kept Josh. He's techie. He's amazing, and he will get more games next year. RIP to Chuck Norris. He was a legend. What is your name? My name is JB. No, my name is John. Yeah. Just plain old John. Xerxes is good, but not better than anyone playing. So Euro for me is a 5. Look, I thought he had a steady game. I like him. I tell you now, Big Pat, who plays for America, is the next big thing. I will watch out for that, Luke. Casemiro today 5. Wasn't in the game. And again, what could he do? What could he do today? He's limited. He's not quick. They were very, very, very quick themselves. The midfield is sparse. Again, Casemiro's doing a job until he leaves. I think Casemiro 5. Kobe Manu, again, look, I don't like scoring. I think Champions League definitely a point away to Bournemouth is a good night's work from a form side. Yeah, look, I'm happy. I'm happy-ish with the pull. I'm happy with a point. I'm not happy with the way that we played. I mean, it says Euro, I think, should be a squad player. Do you reckon? I think Euro needs to play more. My worry about the future for him is that he goes to a Barcelona, he goes to a Real Madrid, and he becomes a world-class player. I don't know. I think he's very, very young. Like people forget that he's young. Was he 20 years old? He's very, very young. He's very, very young. I think he needs playing time. I think he needs to be brought in and out of the squad. I think he needs more. I think he needs. I think he needs more experience. Around him, we need a winning mentality like Zlatan and Rooney. Lenny is a kid, and he will have another kid next to him in heaven. Next game, we have no experience. Exactly that. Kobe is a 5.56. Heaven and Euro. In my opinion, United is the best team in the Premier League. I agree with you. Exactly. He's fucking 19. I mean, Euro, I think he's going to be a good player. He is 19 years old. He's a kid. Kobe Manning 5.5. Road Dark Knight says, sub, look, legend. Thank you, my friend. Look, please do not underestimate. What subbing to the channel does. JV, you're a down-to-earth man who tells you straight and gives a great opinion. I hated United when I was a kid. They won everything. There's no squad. They would come near United in the day. Look, thank you, Luke, mate. Absolute legend, and I really do appreciate it. Mate, what's not happening? What's not happening to Ahmad? Mate, I don't know with Ahmad. Ahmad made an interesting comment earlier, I think it was last month, when he basically said, he said something, he did some sort of tweet. I got bashed for this, right? Watching the pre-season game, and I think he was against Leeds, and I made the comment of something like, I think Ahmad could go this season because I don't know where Ahmad plays. I hope he doesn't go, but I can see Ahmad as being one of the players that goes. I don't want him to go, but he's worth money. So I don't know. I like him, but there is a problem. United could beat every team in the Prem. We beat Liverpool 2-1 and we beat Arsenal 3-2. It's just too easy. Ahmed tonight and Bruno not so much. Bruno Fernandes. I'm not going to spend too much on him because it's always the Bruno Fernandes show, right? He comes up with a goal, comes up with an assist. I don't think he gets an assist for that. I don't think. Look, there is no doubt Bruno Fernandes going forward and his ability to cross. Look, as you guys have said, and I think you're right, he is a maverick luxury player who sits there, and he needs players there. But the problem for me is, look, he is a captain, and whether we like this or not, I know what he is. But as a captain, you've got to. I've got to factor that in. As a captain, he's not a leader. He can't get this team up. And look, whilst I appreciate Bruno Fernandes as a player, as a captain, for me, he's so bad and he gives away the ball. He doesn't. And again, I know he's not a controller of the game, but he is the captain. He's got to lead. He's got to do more, and he doesn't. And that's what a captain is. If you can't look, Maguire had the captaincy taken away because he wasn't a captain material. Why is it different for Bruno Fernandes? Bruno Fernandes isn't a captain, but Maguire gets it taken away. I think I'd be happy for Bruno Fernandes to get the captaincy taken away and have him just here as a player, because I would be more lenient on him if he's just another player. As a captain, I think it's too big for him. I do. So look, I think there's a bit of an hypocrisy on the basis that Bruno Fernandes is not a captain. I think there's a misconception that just because your friends and the players like you, and you walk around the club and you give people like a high five, that means you're a captain. That's not what a captain is. A captain is somebody that goes onto that pitch and is basically the leader of men. All he does is have a pop at his teammates. He throws his arms in the air. Look, Bruno Fernandes, let's not get this confused. Bruno Fernandes, when he does his pass and he gets onto the ball, a wonderful player, but he's not a captain. So for me today, I'm going to score him a 5. Look, you can score him 6, but for me today, Bruno Fernandes, I'm giving him 5. Look, Cunha won the penalty. Cunha did the hard work. I think Cunha should have taken penalty myself. Just because you score a penalty doesn't mean that you should get scored up necessarily. Bruno Fernandes, to me, look, 5. You could argue 5, 5.56. I thought it was just shit today. So for me, Bruno Fernandes gets a 5.56. We shall games every 3 days, and Birman Ahmad will play like Noni and Saka. JB, you are the best United commentator on YouTube. You talk the truth and straightforward and likeable. Look, Amir, thank you, my friend. Look, again, blows me away that people are willing to give the channel the time of day. I've always said that Bruno is a Hollywood player. It's not hard to shine in this shite. Maguire captain, it's plain to see. I second you on that. Roy Keane has been saying the same thing over and over again. It's a shame De Ligt isn't fit constantly. He's a leader. I do agree. I hate United, but Maguire is captain all day long. I have that good feeling again about I'd imagine Champions League next season players will want to join as well. Plus, it will be difficult to swap the captaincy after Fernandes' form. Look, we're never taking the captaincy away from him. So look, it's fine. Maguire, mate. The unfortunate thing is that De Ligt and Martinez aren't available consistently to take the armband. Look, agreed. You need to look. As much as Bruno, I don't believe is a captain, you need your captain on the pitch, and Bruno is always on the pitch. So look, from that aspect, again, Bruno Fernandes is always on that pitch, so that's fine. Good luck making content now that we're playing every game. 20 odd days, big up. Look, again, I'm not going to spam people. I'll try to do what I can, but yeah, look, thanks, mate. So Martinez is a good captain. It was a tough match today, my friend. Good to hear fellow United opinions on our team. Martinez is another miss here. So look, let's go through. It was a penalty on Ahmad. Agree completely. Cunha today for me. Look, Cunha for me today was the man of the match. For me, 7.5. I think Cunha for me today. Look, 7.5. Look, 7.5. Look, I thought today he was brilliant. As you've said, he would bleed for this club. I like him. I think he's got better and better. I really like him. I think he makes things happen. Look, he made the penalty. He is a United player. I really, really like him. I do. I do. Man of the match for me, 7.5. Easy today. Brilliant. That's like I can't say anything higher than that. Just an absolute fantastic player. Ahmad today for me 4. I don't like to say it. I don't like to say it, but I've got to give him a 4.5 today. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know with him. I like Ahmad. The first half of the season, I thought Ahmad was our best player. 1878. You're right. In Bumo today, again, 4.5, 4.5, 5. Ahmad 4.5, 5. The pair of them today. I think there are certain coaches who don't suit certain players, and I don't think Mbumo and Ahmad suit this counter-attacking shite. They were better under a Ruben Amorim, and I'm not saying he was good for everybody. I think Bruno I think Ahmad as a right wing back and in Bumo down that side were brilliant. And I think that's the one thing that Amorim got right. I think Ahmad is a winger. I think he is. I think he's a winger. I think he's a proper winger. You give him the ball, and I do. And look, Andrew, I'm not saying that Amorim. I'm not trying to make a case for him. I'm just saying that I thought that when Amorim and Bumo were playing together down that side, I thought he got that right. I'm not suggesting that Amorim anything else. So 4.5. Shesko when he came on. Look, Shesko when I don't understand why people are throwing shit at Amorim, yet we are here because he literally built the team from scratch. Look, if you've watched the channel before, I was Amorim in. Again, I probably will do a show, but I'll give you it simple. I don't think Amorim got his players. Look, I would take the opinion and view that was Amorim necessarily the right coach. Maybe not. These players threw him under the bus. He didn't get his players. He wasn't supported, I think, by the press. Look, that I believe is I believe that's a topic for another day. But look, yeah, Ahmad. Shesko, when he came on, look, what did he do? Shesko, 5.5, 6. Ugarte did piss all, so 5.5, 6. I mean, he didn't fucking do anything, did he? Mason Mount. I mean, fucking Mason Mount. I mean, Mason Mount coming on for literally 3 minutes. I mean, I'm not scoring Mason Mount. Fuck him. I'm sorry. I am not scoring a Mason Mount today. No. So Mason Mount. What did you see in that? Look, look. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that show. We're going to do that show on a different day. And look, I will talk about it. I'm just not going to do it tonight because I will be here forever. Nice shirt, mate. I've got that in red. I love this shirt. Absolutely adore this shirt. One of my favourite shirts of all time. And I will score Carrick as well. So look what we're saying. True, Ahmad is fast on the wing. He works better. He also chucked out the bad eggs. He did. Yeah, it was the worst win of all time. It was. Amrin was, I don't know what to say, but Amrin only played one way. So does Carrick, to be fair. He was at least 2 midfields away from having a good team. Yeah, agreed. Mount sucks. Mount, man, is the worst investment. Look, don't even get me started on Mount, because I think he's fucking ridiculous. Don't forget, Bournemouth manager is one of the best in the world, and he's leaving at the end of the season. Ugarte is kind of. So look, Carrick, what do we score Carrick today? Look, Michael Carrick, I don't blame him. He's got limited players. These players are light switch players. These players, I think Carrick is fully aware of what these players are. I do. I mean, Ugarte is awful. So what do I score him today? Look, he's got one way of playing. He's counter attack FC. I don't blame the manager. The manager's never been the problem. Look, agree with you. Again, we are on the same thought pattern here. Look, I've always said this. I think these players are to blame. I think that the blame needs to lie with the Glazers, Ineos. The blame needs to go with them. Look at this squad. This is a shit squad. This is an absolute awful shit squad, right? Disgusting squad. And I'm not talking right now about the players now. I'm talking about this squad is threadbare. This squad is shit. And the reason why this squad is threadbare is because we can't afford the fucking wages. This is why, because we can't afford the wages, and they don't want to pay the wages, right? Second thing to say is this. Look, these are light switch players. I don't think this is a great collection of players. I don't like them. There are certain players in this team, like a Shesko and Ahmad. Cunha's are like, the young guys, fine. But this is a horrible side. I want it dismantled. I want it gone. They are light switch players. I think they're lazy players. I think they play when they want to play. And I've always believed that these players are the problem. And yes, some of these players have sacked fucking hell, Ollie, Ten Hag, Radnick, Amarin. And the reason why is because this mentality is infectious. Just as winning is infectious, losing and being fucking lazy is as well. And I think this is we need a rebuild. We need a total rebuild completely. So look, Carrick, I don't blame him. I think Carrick is a limited coach. I don't see anything different that he does. I think he plays players out of position. I think he knows what these players are. So look, today I'm going to score him a 5. I think he should have started Shesko. I know people don't like necessarily to start with a Shesko. Look, you've got to play a striker. Play a striker, mate. You got to play a striker. You've got to play a fucking striker. I think he's stubborn. I think he's stubborn. I think his stubbornness possibly cost him the game today as well. So look, it's a 5 from me. Look, a point is still a good point. Look, a point is a point. It might be the difference between 3rd and 4th and 5th this season. So it is a good point. We were awful today. But look, I'm not surprised. We've been playing like this the whole season. And I'm not angry. I'm more so angry tonight at Ineos, the Glazers, for peddling this pile of shit out tonight. So we are where we are. Let me go through your chats. Look at where Rashford is at for starters. Exactly all the managers have been in. No systems work for these players. Ugarte is the pits. They can't even pass 5 yards. Sorry, I'm so stupid to say we should have kept Amarin. He just had a different mindset. Yet the worst, they are. It is the worst of the century. We look good when we score, but we defend like Everton. Do you know how shameful it's walking around in Kenya wearing a United top and people are making fun of us? I know it is ridiculous. Fashion says, so Bruno and Mount are the same player in a sense. You sound like what everyone said about Amran JB. Well said. It needs to be said. Ex-players may never get it. Look, it is ridiculous. Amran, he would have played a 3-4-3. So look, guys, I am going to go. Look, fantastic show tonight. Absolutely fantastic shows. These late shows are my favourite shows. Look, it was an abjectly awful game tonight. It wasn't the best. But look, guys, look, I have to thank you guys. Look, you support the channel. Good evening to you. What a disgrace. We should have won tonight, says Simon. But look, guys, I've got to say this. Like, you guys are legends. Look, whether you interact with banter, big up the Rams for tomorrow. Look, Luke Green, good luck to the Rams. Tomorrow, I do hope that they win. But look, you guys are legends. You support the channel, whether you watch for 30 seconds, a minute, an hour. Look, you guys are just fantastic. And look, I really appreciate the chat. This is a very, very intelligent community. I love the fact that our opinions are not always the same. And look, you guys make this channel. Baller Edits says red card. I've agreed, red card. Simon says, sorry I'm late. Look, mate, no, look, you missed that. Love. I'm kidding, mate. Good night, all my United. Hopefully next game we beat Leeds. So look, I will be back at some point. I am going to do a show. I am going to do a show about what we can afford. So I'm not going to do a hotter meter. I'm going to do what we can actually fucking afford. So look, I probably won't be back tomorrow. I might be back tomorrow. I don't know. But I am going to do some shows. But look, guys, 3 weeks without a game. And look, there's going to be, just be warned to spin. I guarantee there'll be spin tomorrow, and we'll go through it. We will cut through the crap, and we will talk in the way that we always do. So look, guys, thank you for watching. You are absolute legends. I appreciate the support. As always, I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel. And I will see you guys very, very soon. So take care and legends. Thank you all.